I wanna ask you last thing before we go. I want to talk about PVE for a second.
Right.
There's a rumor around that PVE was played in the early days in New Zealand. Do you know anything about that?
Right. So you're gonna have to excuse me. PvE player versus everyone.
Environment.
Player versus environment. All right.
So
Give me
a
an
Flesh and
example.
Blood version. Here's what I've heard, and this is just me nerding out because I think of all the people I speak to, you probably play the most card games, and maybe you can relate this to other card games. Just from what I've heard, there was a PVE version of Flesh and Blood that was played in New Zealand, tested, I should say, that had like it's like Street Fighter versus the car,
Ah, yes.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Where you're just
That was
beating up
so
like a
good.
stationary boss. I don't think it was necessarily complicated. Maybe it's just like a boss with 100 health, but you got X amount of turns or X amount of time to defeat it.
Yep. I'm just gonna go into my email and see if I can actually find that.
Well, as far as
I
I
was
know,
asking him for the game. I was asking him for the game. Yes, it did exist. And your character had to take, I think it was 40 life off the car. So the car itself would have its own deck. So whenever
yep,
you did an attack, it would flip a card over and the card would defend against your attack.
that would be important for the Flesh and Blood mechanics, actually.
That's right. So you would have, I think, 4 turns, I think it was, to do 40 damage.
Ooh,
4 or 5 turns, something like
yep,
that. And they would have that defense deck where they would flip over a card. Now, many of the cards were 0, but some had a defense value.
yep.
And that's what was played. Tried to take Katsu against it. I thought I could do it, but
So does this happen in Melbourne? Or happen
no,
in
this
New
is
Zealand
only
at the
in New
time?
Zealand at their oh, what was it? The big competition.
The calling or
Yeah, the calling. It was at the calling, New Zealand.
okay. Can I tell you what
2019, I
my
think it was.
So I've heard this rumor, and by the way, can I post this clip on my channel because I really want to spoil PVE for everyone, right?
Yeah, what's that?
Okay. That does not excite me in the slightest, by the way. I like playing against someone, right? till I realized that LSS could do PVE the same way I used to raid in World of Warcraft, where me and my
Right,
mates could go to our local store. We don't know what the boss is yet because it's week 1. The store owner
right.
flips over a boss and a deck. We don't know what's in the deck because it's the first time experiencing this boss. But then if you beat it, your armory kit is actually a hidden set of loot. So
Yep.
like an alternate art tunic, like a purple one, for instance, came to mind for some reason. I'm like, you know how sick it would be to have PvE only where you have like your armory event, but then there's PvE on another night where there's like loot or cards that you would use in your deck, like Katsu for instance, but you have a different art version of the Katsu hero token that you can
Right.
only win in PvE.
Well, this was the case with this because at the calling, it was between events. So if you had finished your games, you could take your deck
And
over
try.
and try and beat the car. And if you did it, I believe you got a particular card.
You understand how like amazing that would be to play. So let's put it this way. I'm not trying to talk crap about you, but it's funny because you said it. You're like not the best player in your store, but you
Oh,
love
I'm
the game.
far from it.
No, but
I'm the one
imagine,
that's second last.
but that hasn't stopped you playing.
No,
This is the
not at
key,
all.
right? Imagine you get to also play PvE with the same guys that always beat you, but now you
Yeah,
put your brain together. Maybe you play the support deck because you're just terrible at playing, but either way, you end up with amazing loot because it's random,
yeah,
and you get a gold foil Kadachi because,
yes.
like, how sick would that be? You don't have to win a tournament, you just have to turn up to your events.